Welcome back to BNG Hockey, where it's always black and gold. Bit of unexpected news here. The Boston Bruins agree to terms on a new contract with RFA forward Jake DeBrusk. Let's talk about it. DeBrusk signs a 2-year deal with a cap hit of $3.6 million. He will once again be an RFA at the end of this contract, but that time around he'll have arbitration rights. This was an interesting move by the Bruins. It's a 2-year bridge deal, kind of prove-it-to-me contract, but I didn't realize they wanted him to prove it to them. He's constantly been in trade rumors, and it seems like they were really worried they'd have to overpay for Jake DeBrusk. These RFAs nowadays are getting paid for what they're going to do, not what they are. They're getting paid for their potential. You see these 22, 23, 24-year-old forwards being the highest paid players on their teams. So I was a little bit worried that Jake DeBrusk was going to make $4, $5, maybe even $6 million because Jake DeBrusk at his peak could be a 30-goal scorer, and that's what those guys get paid. So even though this isn't the craziest deal for the Bruins at $3.6 million, it's not as bad as it could have been. So I wasn't surprised to see that Jake is going to be staying with the team because they are able to get him at this cap hit. It's still a very movable deal if they want to do that, but I think if he was going to be traded, they would have traded him and his rights to another team and let the new team figure out his next deal. So let's go ahead and look at Jake DeBrusk's career and see if it's going to be a positive or a negative for the Bruins moving forward. Last season, in 65 games for the Bruins, he scored 19 goals, 16 assists, for a total of 35 points, and he was a -1. His entire NHL career, he's played in 203 games, scoring 62 goals, 58 assists, for a total of 120 points, and he's a +14 for his career. Now, Jake DeBrusk is the definition of a hot and cold, inconsistent player. When he's feeling good, he's feeling good. He's scoring multiple goals a game, he's getting points, he's playing physical, he's battling, and when he is cold, he is ice cold. He will go 8 stretches of games with no points, and you don't even realize he's out there playing 15 minutes a night. That is incredibly frustrating to watch as a Bruins fan. And believe me, Bruins management sees it too, and that's why this guy is constantly in trade rumors. But if Jake DeBrusk plays to his ceiling, you'd think he'd get a lot closer to the 27 goals he scored last season. I think at his peak, he's a 30-goal scorer. I don't see why not. He's still so young. He's only 24 years old, so he's still getting better, still figuring it out in the NHL. But this guy has had a top 6 role pretty much since the day he entered the league. He was stuck right next to David Krejci, and it's kind of odd that those two don't really have the chemistry you think they'd have playing every single game together. Last season was the first time that Bruce Cassidy really started to experiment taking DeBrusk away from Krejci, played him a little bit with Coyle, but he also gave him some bigger opportunities, put him on the power play in front of the net, playing with guys like Bergeron, Marchand, Pasternak, Krug, but yet DeBrusk wasn't getting the points. The power play was great. All the other guys were getting points, but he's just standing there not doing anything, and it's really hard to not get points playing on the top power play in the league like that. So I really do hope DeBrusk figures it out. This is a guy who can be a game changer. We've seen it before. We've seen it in the playoffs, how he elevates his game, his passion, his energy, his enthusiasm, his love of the game. It shows. If he can bring that night after night after night, he could be a huge leader, a huge presence on the bench, a big part of this next young core, and I would really like to see him become the player we all know he's had flashes of being and all know he can be, and it would be really nice to get a win from that terrible draft class because at least we'd have Jake DeBrusk to take away from it. There are still plenty of teams who would be interested in trading for Jake DeBrusk, especially at this cap hit. He could very well still be moved this offseason. Maybe they take this year, see if he starts out cold, and move him at the trade deadline or wait till the offseason. Or maybe they take the full 2 years and reevaluate and flip him then. Or they keep him and he finally takes that step forward for the Bruins. It is a bridge contract, so it's going to be the kind of deal where if he doesn't play up to his standard, he might make less money. If he finally jumps up and becomes the player we all know he can be, maybe they hook him up a little bit more if he took less money and makes a bigger cap hit on a longer term deal. Let me know your thoughts. What do you think is going to happen with Jake DeBrusk? Do you think they keep him? Do you think they trade him? Leave that down below in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a big like. And if you haven't already, subscribe.